ice stands gloob? What does it mean? It means nothing. Ice does not gloob, fish gloob.
I might have an idea.
You have no ideas, you hirsute cultwhack!
Alright, yo, what's going on, guys? As we are approaching the summer 2026 update for Pirate, I wanted to make a video discussing what is likely to appear in the coming weeks. I am about 99.99% sure it is going to be the world of Polaris. So, from the Atmoplex, we have multiple NPCs, including Maxine from Novus of all people. Definitely wasn't expecting that. And I'd imagine she'll probably have something to do with Napoleon and seizing power, so let's see where that goes. The second line of leaks courtesy of the Atmoplex includes multiple zones, more NPCs, and some very welcoming possible additions. The first one is a housing vendor. So this might seem small, but I am in full support of this addition. One of the many reasons, in my opinion, why the Arc 2 episodes feel kind of underwhelming is just how hollow they feel. Having even vendors who 99% of players probably won't even interact with just makes the area feel so much more lively. I really hope we see even more vendors. Maybe one who offers like mediocre level 75 gear, or maybe we even get like a rank 6 or a rank 7 snack vendor. The next notable additions are the Dragon-inspired Dragoons. So these are models from the Wizard101 Dragoon update in 2019, and on top of that, we finally get to see Oksana in action. Now, I will be the one to admit this, I am not a fan of Oksana. Me personally, I'd rather we just fully reset back to Valencia Part 2 and just redo the story as it was originally intended, but obviously we are not getting that timeline, so we'll just have to stick with this one. That being said, I was also hesitant with Miranda Breyer, who is the antagonist for Wizard101's Arc 5 in Darkmoor. I thought she was going to be like this boring Morganth copy, causing chaos just to cause chaos, but she actually had depth and intrigue to her character. So although Oksana's intro was completely botched in Zigzag, I won't write her off just yet. And the last thing we are expected to see are multiple zones. Now, the thing that might put people off at first glance is that these are all ported zones from Wizard101. I will say this about porting areas and reusing assets. I personally don't have a huge problem with recycling Wizard assets, since obviously Pirate doesn't create a large enough budget to warrant getting brand new exclusive zones. In fact, I think reskinning areas is completely fine and it's a great middle ground. So for example, East Wing and West Wing were reskinned from Palazzo Matria. And I bet most people at the time never knew. The problem lies in that these ported areas, they better be polished. I would argue that going to Tartarus itself, which is obviously ported from Wiz, isn't the problem that people have with the episode. The problem that they had are the world building bugs. Collision problems, as well as not being able to port to your friends. That was the big issue. So if these Polaris zones, they are nice and polished, I don't think most people would have a problem with them being reskinned or being ported. And just recently, we got an actual KingsIsle spoiler for the upcoming episode. Now, of course, they don't say anything, but it is Frogfather, so we're likely to see him. And you can see in the background, there are a few pictures, and, well, what is this picture about? Just saying, maybe. So that's all of the spoilers that we currently have, everything that's data mined or hinted to us about Polaris. So now I want to give my personal expectations for this upcoming episode. And I'm going to split these into levels of priority, because although there's a lot of different things I'd like to see, some are essentially, if KingsIsle, you do not have this, it's just an L update. And then others won't, let's say in the grand scheme matter, but it adds a little layer of satisfaction to the players. It's that nice sprinkle on the top of the cake. The first category are what I call the non-negotiables. A non-negotiable means that, to me, if this is not added in the Polaris update, automatically it will be a failed update. The first one is a level cap increase. So I would argue that best part of Trianon was getting the level cap increase, as well as getting new powers, as well as epics, not you by the way, from our class trainers. I think KI has to have another level cap increase for Polaris to be enjoyable. You've already spoiled us once with the level cap increase, now it has become the standard. And by the way, I'm not asking for anything crazy. I think getting to level 80 and getting a new power for our pet, that would be perfectly fine for this update. The second non-negotiable is no world building bugs present in the update. My personal opinion, the world building bugs are the biggest turnoff of Arc 2. I would argue that Tartarus was actually pretty decent. I think most people on a lore scale actually enjoyed questing through Tartarus. However, I would claim that the vast amount of glitches that you encounter while playing Tartarus is what turns all players off, or at least most players I'll say, from having any hope of a pirate future. To be fair, in Trianon, the bugs were less apparent, and it is getting even better as El Toro's promotion is pretty clean. I mean, I barely saw any bugs present in that, so I hope to see this continue in Polaris. The next level of priority are ones that are critical to the update's success. These features, I wouldn't say they are past the line of automatic success or failure depending on if it's added or not, but it would be a major disappointment if these were not addressed. The big one here that I want to hone in on is the story. Now, this one is kind of rough to explain, as personally I care less about Pirates lore compared to other people, so maybe my opinions are wrong on this one, but I think the story has been very weak in Arc 2. I think world building is the worst part of these Arc 2 episodes, but after it comes the story. Valencia Part 2 with Kane was unfortunately horribly executed, but the chance to maybe restore the story and keep players interested in Arc 2 has dramatically fallen. I still think giving us 3 map pieces and almost completing the entire map to El Dorado was a huge mistake. Well, I mean, and again, I get that there's a possible world where, although we have 6 out of 7 map pieces, that maybe the last one takes multiple episodes to reach. I'm just saying, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, who knows? Maybe Oksana faked these map pieces and her and Queen are in cahoots with one another. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. Speaking of Oksana, I really hope her perception in the players' eyes change from this new update. From what I know, most players aren't a fan of her, but they are hopeful things can change around. Again, I was hesitant with Miranda Breyer, but she grew on me. I hope Oksana can find her footing with Pirate's story. The third rank of priorities are ones that are strongly desired that will significantly boost the intrigue of the update, but they aren't essential. The first addition here is the gear. I made an epic video recently, and one of my concerns with giving every class so many epic granting gear is, well, what comes next? My Witch Doctor, for example, has gear that grants me Ready Spell 5, Mojo Echo 5, Mojo Rising 5, and very valuable stats. What gear can we get that tops this? Again, my opinion is to nerf the meta epics that everyone uses, buff up the weaker epics, and then you can make gear that allows players to reach these new rank 5 epics easier. I would love to play Doomspell 5 Melee Witch Doctor, like that sounds so gangster, but Doomspell 5 just sucks right now. I would love to build a Relentless 5 Buccaneer, but again, Relentless is just useless to invest in. Now, what KingsIsle has been doing, and they introduced this in Trianon, was to make mobs and bosses drop not great gear, but auctionable gear that gives some epics and some powers. It's a small little change, but I think it goes a long way. It's something that was awesome in the previous Wizard arcs, and I noticed it stopped happening in Arc 4, and I have no idea why that is. It's one of the things that I think sucks about Arc 4, and it happened in Darkmoor as well. The second is the companion that we recruit. From the Atmoplex Leaks, I believe it will be a Polar Bear companion, and I hope they keep the same blueprint as they have with Ardito. Now this, I'm pretty sure, is an unpopular opinion, but I do think free-to-play companions, they should be weaker than pay-to-play ones. Ardito is good, but he has glaring weaknesses such as no guaranteed crit power while having chaining epics, as well as low range. I think the Polar Bear companion should be around a B to fringe A tier level companion. I don't want him weak like Sinbad though. That guy is complete trash, and honestly, screw the promotion, let's just keep him forgettable. The last change would be a sailable Skyway. I would put this higher on the priority level, but I'm pretty convinced it's unfortunately not happening for Polaris. Sailing is a very, very significant part of Pirate. I know people may not enjoy it because it's slow and the ship combat is redundant, but sailing is something I seriously long for. A story update doesn't feel that awe-inspiring if we can't sail to a new one. The smuggling and press X to teleport has overstayed its welcome. If not this update, then the next one needs a Skyway. The next level of expectations are the nice-to-haves. These additions are great if the development time allowed it, but are mainly just extra tidbits that they don't hold a ton of weight. These types of additions can turn a great update into a fantastic one. The first one being vendors and side quests. I talked earlier about how adding these can make an area feel much more lively. I think Florenza is a great example of this. Sure, I have no reason to interact with this NPC, but it's cool to see them. Same for these uninteractable NPCs who just wander around. The next one are voice lines for class-specific companions like Barnabas or Sarah Steele. I think it probably won't happen, but seeing our Presidio 5 have lines in the Agrabah Drop Gauntlet, that was really cool. The third possible inclusion I want to add would be a farmable companion. I know we want to be extracting money from players with Crown Shop only companions, but please, just once make a companion be farmable. It could be like a 1 in 100 drop rate. And the companion doesn't even need to be overpowered. As I said earlier, in my opinion, free-to-play companions shouldn't be overpowered. Having this companion be at like Ardito levels of strength, perfect. And the last thing I want to see is something that doesn't directly pertain to Polaris, but Pirate as a whole. And that is to go back and fix the integral parts of the game. Having a new story update is definitely the best way to attract returning players, as well as entice new players to try out Pirate. But quality of life is what keeps them playing. I think Miracle Mitch is a problem. I think ship combat is a problem. I think the pet system is a problem. I think certain companions are way too broken. I think the epic system is a problem. I think PvP is a problem. And most importantly, I think Arc 2 is a problem. Everything from Valencia Part 2 to Valencia Part 3 just feels like pointless side content. Not to mention, they're riddled with so many bugs and unsolvable issues that erode any enjoyment of these areas. My opinion, just make everything from Sinbad Part 3 to Zigazag side content. It is the easiest fix. Arc 2 gets better whenever we go to Trianon anyways. It actually feels like a Pirate update. Now the reason I think it should be Sinbad Part 2 is because those are required to recruit Sinbad and Albino, and yeah, they have voice lines in Trianon. There's even a perfect location. After you recruit Sinbad, you go to Gantry, and there's a dialogue box that says "To be continued," and then the quest ends. It is the perfect time to give 2 quest paths, one that takes you straight to Trianon, or one that continues on to Sinbad Part 3. You might say that, well then nobody would want to do these areas. And I disagree. People would still run these areas at least one time because some of the rewards are nice. The badges they give with the added effects, Hockey Leaf's promotion, valuable gear such as the Cerberus Collar or Guardian Scarab's Carapace, these are all really good incentives to run through these areas. I just don't think people want to run it through more than once. You run through it once, you farm the gear, and you never do it again. That's what I think it should be. At the end of the day, only time will tell how Polaris shapes up. I really hope we knock it out the ballpark like Darkmoor was for Wizard. I'm expecting another few waves of teasers, maybe one final KI life before launch, and probably test round by the end of July. I know people might be mad at how long it is taking and that KI has been super silent about it. I do think the silence is a little too much, but I think they should absolutely take their time. If the content isn't pristine, I do not want it. Everything will be forgiven as long as the content is well made. I'll see you all later.